Alex here with World Footy Net, and I'm here with Atlanta Silverbacks now former midfielder Rebecca Nolan. So first, we just found out some very sad news for Atlanta Silverbacks fans that you are hanging up your boots. So go ahead and tell us, why is this the time to do that, and what's next in your future?
It's the time. I mean, I was supposed to retire before this season started. I had no plans on coming back, but they kept calling and calling, you know, just saying one more, let's try and defend the title, and I was like, all right. I was just at that place where I'd won it all last year. I felt really happy with how I played. My job commitments were getting bigger, and I wanted to focus on coaching. I wanted to focus on helping players improve, and by showing them what I'd accomplished and achieved, anything was possible for them. But I ended up coming back and playing one more season, and I'm glad I did. I'm disappointed at how it ended, and we got nothing. But just 29, and it was just time to give it up and focus on where my real career was headed, which is coaching.
Alright, great. And so go ahead and tell the fans about your career as a coach, where you're coaching. Not everyone is aware of that, and also how coaching helped you develop as a player.
Well, let's go back to, I started coaching when I was about 15 years old. I would work some summer camps and back in England, and I liked it a lot, and then I came over to America. I also coached in the community over in England with my good friend Amy. She's a really good coach. She was much better than me, so I learned a great deal off her. She was a goalkeeper, so she was just used to seeing the whole field all the time. So I learned a lot from her. I came over here in '03 to play for Kennesaw State University on a soccer scholarship, and I was working summer camps there, and graduated and tried the real world, hated it, didn't like my office job, lasted about 4 months and got straight back into coaching at GSA club soccer. So, you know, the coaching was always there, and I knew I could coach, but I wanted to try and see what else I was good at. Turns out not really much other than playing and coaching, so if I even consider myself a good coach, at times I do wonder. But so I got into that, and I ended up coaching club soccer, and you know, becoming a coach at such a young age helped me realise as a player, as well as watching games on TV, the bigger picture, and not just what was going on in the game at that time. Like being able to recognise, you know, how the team was playing against us, what type of formation, what we needed to do to get the better of them. So coaching and seeing the big picture helped me greatly with you know, playing on the field, and then watching the games on TV, the Premier League and the Serie A, Bundesliga, La Liga, all of that. You know, I always implemented what I saw onto the playing field. So, and I coach now at Kennesaw State University, where I used to play. So I coach Division 1.
So it was very hard watching this season with some of the women's games. We come out to the women's games, and you would, I mean, barely maybe have like 100, maybe sometimes 200 people out here. And it's not that the men's team gets the attendance they should get. You know, on average, you're looking, even though they will tell you it's a sellout, usually, you know, you only have about 2,500 people at the men's games as well. And we would try to get, especially people in the supporter groups, to come and support you ladies. So how do you deal with that? And I'm sure that with the WPS, with the beat, you probably had better fan attendance, I'm assuming. But how do you deal with that as a professional, you know, female footballer? Really, with all professional sports for women, you see this. The fan attendance is not as high. You know, and people can say it's sexism, people can say it's, you know, not as progressive as a game, whatever. But how do you deal with that as a professional? Seeing, you know, wanting more fans out there, you know, does it impact your game, or how do you think it's going to impact the progression of football in America?
Well, I mean, there's a ton of reasons why, you know, we didn't get the fans. First things first, at the Atlanta Beat, you know, 8,300 seat stadium at Kennesaw. At times, the best of times, it was only ever filled because Marta was coming into town, Shannon Boggs, Abby Wambach, all the world-class players that were coming. That's how they promoted it.
Right.
They were like Kelly Smith from Boston Breakers, and it's coming into town, or Heather O'Reilly, you know, so on and so forth. So it generated more interest, but they still only get 3,000 or 4,000 at best to that. So the stadium always still felt kind of empty. Whereas here, I don't know if you were aware, but Laura Federico, our marketing, you know, guru, she's the backbone of this club, the GM. She moved. She moved up to Michigan, and she couldn't do it anymore. So the just wasn't quite that outreach to the local clubs in the Atlanta, Gwinnett, Kennesaw, Cobb County area. It wasn't hit and targeted like it had been in previous years. So obviously when I didn't really notice, to be honest, on our first game of the season when hardly any fans showed up. I mean, I get on with the game. Obviously it's lovely to have what we call the 12th man screaming for us to give us that extra push, but I focused on the game, and then only afterwards on Twitter did I realise how poorly the attendance really was. Some long-term fans were very upset at the way the games weren't promoted, but we didn't have Laura. Now that's not saying that we couldn't have done it ourselves. I mean, I certainly probably annoyed a lot of people posting it on my Facebook account, posting it on my Twitter account, trying to get everybody out to the games. But when you schedule a game, our games were on Friday nights, 7 o'clock at night. Parents get off work at 5, get home at 6:30. They've still got to feed their kids. They still got to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah, and a lot of your home games were the same weekends as the men's home games, and so trying to get the fans. I know that was the biggest problem.
2 nights in a row.
When I was trying to get people to come out, it's like people are like, well, I can't take work off 2 nights in a row. I can't do that 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And so I think the planning is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, but it doesn't take away. It doesn't control the performance, the results. It really doesn't. I mean, we're very fortunate to be able to play at this stadium. Can't complain. The surfaces are fantastic. We get a decent practice time. We get to use the top turf up there. We get to play on this. This is the best field in the W League, especially in our conference. So I mean, we can't complain. It was disappointing, but at times we had great turnout, and I'll take 5 fans over no fans.
Right.
And it's really nice to see the same faces, and we take time after the games to thank the fans. So it was good to know, but it is a shame that we didn't have a stronger following, but at the end of the day, it didn't control our results.
Alright, so as far as development goes in playing in England and playing in America, can you compare those 2 experiences? How was it playing in America in women's football, and how was it playing women's football in England?
Well, like I touched earlier on, it's very technical over there. So very technical and very passing oriented. I mean, it's not so much possession, because English soccer is very direct and everything, but just the whole decision making on the ball and being able to hit those 40-yard passes, and whereas in America it's the first touch might be a little bit all over the place, but at the end of the day they can go up and down, and eventually break teams down. Now, saying that, I think the technical game over in America has come a long way. But, I still think we have the edge in technical ability over in England. But the reason why I think England can't beat America or the US in women's soccer is just because Americans are so mentally tough. They really are. And, the whole development thing, they play so much more in this country. Obviously I didn't get to play on a girls team until I was 15, but you play once a week, you train maybe twice a week. Here, it's 3 to 4 times a week. It's playing on a Saturday and playing on a Sunday. I mean, the burnout's probably a little bit higher here, the burnout percentage on the women's game, but to compare the 2, it's more athletic but so much mentally tougher to technical, but the understanding of the game is so much better in England.
Right.
But I mean, I like to think I'm fortunate in the fact that because I've played both, I've moulded the whole technical and athletic part together, and I thought I just became such a better player, so much more of a better player.
Yeah. But and you didn't get to play on the girls team till U15. But how did training with boys impact your game? Do you think that had especially technically, I would imagine, that would really help your game?
Yeah, I mean, I was just in the playground at school, didn't even have a team to play on. I guess I just wasn't really educated in trying to find a team, I didn't really know I could play on a boys team, but in the playground at school we weren't allowed a soccer ball because it could hit other people, it could knock out windows, so we played with a tennis ball, and if nobody bought a tennis ball, we'd play with a pine cone or an acorn. So if you can play soccer with a tennis ball that is this big, or a pine cone that is even smaller, you can 100% do anything with a size 5 soccer ball or a size 4. So as far as my first touch, my speed of play, it had to be good and it had to be fast, because with boys they're just so much more faster, more physical than girls, that in order to be invited back to play at lunchtime and for the guys to kind of enjoy having me there, I had to be able to compete with them. Otherwise, they'd be like, oh, it's her again, you know. So I like to think that playing with the guys at school again was just a huge advantage for me, especially when I got to play for the U15s. I was able to do a lot more than what I maybe would have been able to had I not played with the boys.
That's great. All right, so we learned a little bit about your past in England, but let's learn a little bit more about yourself. So go ahead and tell us teams, clubs that you support. Why? What's usually obviously in England when you support a club, it's not like Americans who support English clubs. You know, usually it has to do with where you're from, or your family, and all. So go ahead and give us a little bit of insight about who you support.
Well, I don't support anyone in the Premier League, unfortunately, right now, because my team is Leeds United, and although we used to be in the Premiership, we've been down in the Championship now for a couple of years, 4 or 5 even. We went into administration, we got relegated, we sold all our best players to quality clubs, and we just didn't quite have that talent there. We had to totally rebuild financially and bring players in through the youth. So I'm a Leeds fan. I'm totally okay with being a Leeds fan. I'm very proud. But the reason I became a Leeds fan is because my mum, I come from a divorced family, and I didn't play soccer really when my real dad was around. He was in the army. I remember moving to a house and my neighbour playing, and then my mum met my stepdad, and he happened to be a Leeds fan. I'm pretty sure I supported Tottenham for a couple of months, up until, I can't even believe I'm admitting this.
We won't tell Hooligan.
I was a dirty,
Don't cut that out of the interview.
But yeah, so my stepdad bought me a Leeds kit, and from there on out I just supported Leeds. And he would take me to, he had a really bad injury when he was playing. He has a metal pole holding his ankle together, so he had to stop playing. But he would still go down to the fields and watch his mates play, and he would take me with him, and I'd be kicking the ball on the sidelines. So we really, really bonded in that aspect, and that's how I became a Leeds fan.
Playing, you're going to focus more on coaching, but what are you going to miss most about playing at the club level and playing in club ball? And also maybe go ahead and give us some of your biggest highlights as a club player. One or two. Obviously, I can probably guess one from last season.
Right.
But just go ahead. So what are you going to miss most about playing at the club level?
I think what I'm going to miss most is just that tight-knit environment that you get with the same players week in, week out. You know, you see them at least 4 to 5 times a week. You get to see the worst and the best of them. Who's hilarious, who's not so hilarious, or who's awkward, and who's really good, who's the class clown, who likes to have the most attention. I'll miss that. I'll miss the great friends that I've met along the way. But the biggest thing I'll miss is just the competition. I'm a very, very competitive individual, and I cannot stand losing. And being on the soccer field, I feel like I am a major part of controlling my fate in a win or a loss. Whereas coaching, I can prepare the players as best I can, but it's their job to get the job done on the field. So I'll miss the competitiveness and just trying to be that vocal leader on the field. But other than that, I won't miss the commitment or the time that it took to juggle my full-time job and the travelling here and Atlanta traffic. But I miss the girls, I'll miss the coaching, and I just miss the competitiveness.
Before we go, I wanted to ask if you have a message for any of your fans, Silverbacks fans, just anything that you'd like to say as a farewell to everyone that's been following you through the Silverbacks and through the Atlanta Beat and the Silverbacks once again.
I got a lot to say. I mean, thank you to our owner John Latham. The time and money he's invested in us has been fantastic, and we're so very grateful for everything you've done for us. I hope you continue to support the women's team, because we're so grateful. See you out at the games. You call us out when we don't score enough goals, and then the next game we bang in a few for you. So thank you, everything, John Latham. Thank you, Boris and the Silverbacks, for letting us use these amazing facilities. We wouldn't get a better place to play out here, or anywhere in Atlanta. So that's awesome. And to the fans, there have been a lot, but there are only a few this summer. Again, thank you. Your support on Twitter, your support on Facebook. I've met some great friends through all of you that I'll remain to keep in contact with. I'm so, so grateful to have your support, and the women, I know the women are so, so grateful to have your support, so please continue to support them. They're going to be a very consistently strong team with the return rate that we have with the players, and who knows, maybe one day I'll be coaching them. Who knows? But thank you to everyone for this opportunity. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm a gorilla till I die.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.